You guys remember the Model 1 Sega Genesis? Well, in 1993, Sega released a smaller, lighter version of the console. Now, side-by-side comparison, you can see that the Model 1 is bigger than the Model 2. Well, let's see. The power switch is now just a button. They took off the headphone jack, which, that's the one thing I'm kind of disappointed about. I really like that headphone jack. And in the back, there's only an AV out and an adapter. There's no more RF. Well, they still have the side for the Sega CD add-on. And y'all are probably wondering what this is for. Well, it's for this. This right here is actually the Model 2 Sega CD, which was made for the Model 2 Sega Genesis. Doesn't look too bad. Well, there's one problem I have with this. There's an adapter for the Sega Genesis and the Sega CD. Well, that's two adapters. Two big box adapters, I might add. It's already taking up a lot of room. And that's for the Sega CD. As you can see, it uses compact disc. It's a top loader. The games normally came in this. See, this is Sonic CD, best game on the Sega CD. So you see, it's a compact disc, like most of these old CD games, and you can just play it. Now, in 1994, Sega released yet another add-on. But this one was originally going to be its own console. This is the Sega 32X. It was originally going to be its own console called the Sega Neptune, but they scrapped that idea because the Neptune was coming anyways. It goes on top of the Genesis like this. Okay, that's not bad. But you guessed it, it has its own power adapter. That's three big ones, I might add. Now let's move this out the way. I want to show you how difficult this is. Now this right here is your standard 6-outlet power strip. You can find these anywhere. I bought this from Walmart for about $4. You plug in your Genesis, your Sega CD, and well, fuck. That's one thing I hated about it. Anyways, back to the console itself. You can play your regular 16-bit Genesis games on it, as well as its own library of 32-bit games. Now, the one thing that kind of irritates me the most is, look at this. Sega Genesis cartridge, end label. 32X, no end label. That really irks me because, why not have the end label? Anyways, with the Sega 32X, being on top of this Genesis was not enough. It needed this. It's another cable that connects to the back of the Genesis. I don't know why they needed so many things to plug into the Genesis. Anyway, before I completely lose it here, I'm going to talk about Sega Genesis 6-button controller, which worked well with 32X games and Sega CD games, but the main reason they made this controller was for fighting games. See, Super Nintendo had 8 buttons, so It was good for fighting games. The Sega Genesis controller, however, only had 3, which isn't enough buttons. So they released this one for games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And it's really not that bad, you know. Still gotta hop your hands on the button, you know. But hey, what are you gonna do? Yeah, well, just plug this in. And here, there you have it. The Sega Genesis Model 2, Sega CD Model 2, and the piece of crap Sega 32X.